You know things are not going to end well when a Catholic website posts a quiz to determine if readers can recognize superstition when they see it. The answer is no. These are people who think consecrated communion wafers are literally parts of Jesus. They wouldn't know superstition if it were placed on their tongues, which it is. The lack of self-awareness is truly incredible. How do you even write a quiz like this? We know Catholics treat fiction as fact. That's how church works. So how can they possibly draw a line between religious mythology and other forms of nonsense? Well, the National Catholic Register published the quiz, so I figured we would take it together and find out if our bullshit detectors are working properly. Patty McGuire Armstrong, who wrote the quiz, explained that she wanted to help Catholics identify common spiritual traps. So she came up with these questions after consulting, wait for it, several exorcists. Seriously, exorcists. That's like asking Robert Kennedy Jr. for medical advice. Anyway, all 10 questions are either true or false, so this should be fairly straightforward. Let's do it. Number 1. Reading horoscopes just for fun is not a problem if you don't believe in them. True. I have no clue why horoscopes would be fun to read if you don't believe in them, but at best, they're harmless. They're meaningless. They're written by people who literally make things up to appease people who possess even fewer critical thinking skills, even if the writers insist they used a star chart or some other form of new agey nonsense. But yeah, it's not a problem if you don't believe in them. The Catholic answer? Catholic Answers explains that horoscopes go against the first commandment. If you read them just for fun, find a new hobby. Jesus. That's harsh. Horoscopes apparently violate the rule saying thou shalt have no other gods before me, which implies some people treat horoscopes as their personal god. What happened to reading them for fun and not believing in them? Yikes. So we got the right answer, but I think the answer key is wrong, because Patty seems to think this is false. I'm not sure if we get full or partial credit for that. Maybe none. Can we deduct points from her? Anyway, let's keep going. Number 2 is about wearing a lucky shirt to win a challenge, which the site correctly says is fine if it boosts your confidence, but you should agree it has no actual power. I'm okay with that. Number 3. Blessed metals can be used for spiritual protection. That's clearly superstitious. Blessed metals are just like lucky shirts, the subject of question number 2. You can pretend they confer some helpful power to you, but they don't actually have any power. I mean, metals cannot be blessed because blessings are fictional to begin with. Blessed metals, therefore, don't give you any spiritual or any other kind of protection. The answer is false. NCR's answer? Not that. Once blessed, metals are sacramentals that really do offer protection. Catholic Answers explains, it is only the power of God that can protect us. It so happens that at times, God has revealed, either directly or through one of his saints, that he will grant protection or healing by the wearing of a metal that represents our faith in his love for us. Whoops. Blessed metals really are magical. Who knew? We're doing very poorly on this exam, and it's early, and I am so confused. Question 4 acknowledges that throwing pennies in a wishing well is superstitious. So yay, we're told don't do that, say a prayer instead. Whatever. And then question 5 deals with curses. Curses are real and can harm you. False. Obviously false. Curses are not real. They cannot harm you. It's all psychological. But these are Catholics we're talking about, so I'm guessing they're gonna say curses are real and therefore harmful? But guess what? They don't do that. They give a wishy-washy answer that boils down to, it depends. Whether you should be afraid if someone puts a curse on you depends on you. Exorcists frequently see people suffering from curses. In an interview for a previous article, Father Vincent Lampert, an exorcist in the Diocese of Indianapolis, said that with faith, we need not fear evil. See, this is why you should never consult with exorcists before writing your bullshit exam. Okay, so curses are real, but they don't have to harm you? But they could? I feel like that's a trick question that somehow still yields a wrong answer. I still can't figure out what the answer key would say here. Moving on. There's a question about whether burying a St. Joseph statue is an acceptable Catholic practice, and everyone's on the same page. It's false. This is one of those silly superstitions that some Catholics do when they're trying to sell a house, but it's not religious and there's nothing biblical about it. Fine. We will move on to question number 7. Praying the same short prayer over and over like a mantra is more superstitious than prayerful. Yes, true. Of course it's true. If you're repeating a prayer over and over, it's not like God suddenly hears you the 57th time. If repetition mattered, then what does it say about the Christian God that a single prayer didn't work? Why couldn't God hear the first one? For that matter, why do you even need to say a prayer at all? Shouldn't it be enough for believers to just think about it? So saying something repeatedly is definitely superstitious, and if you're doing it, you should seek help. Did I get it right? Nope. Apparently, we are all wrong. Repeating a short prayer over and over connects you with God. Mantras not connecting with God, but believing it has some power, is a cult. Ah. You see, if it's a true prayer, then repeating it ad nauseum is fine. If it's anything else, repeating it is of the devil. What's the difference between the two? Who knows? Good luck to you in figuring it out. After another question about how knocking on wood is not biblical, with the suggestion that you should say a prayer instead, question number 9 asks about holy water. Holy water is only a symbol, not something with power attached to it. If you treat it as having power, you are superstitious. Ooh, tricky. I mean, the correct answer is true. Holy water, which is just water, is not special. There's no power to it. But Catholics definitely believe in magical incantations that involve communion wafers and wine, so let's just go with false, just to get a correct answer. Catholics think holy water is not superstitious. Holy water, blessed by a priest, is blessed by God in virtue of Christ's baptism. The Catholic Church possesses the power to impart sacramental grace. Holy water, as a sacramental, receives its power through the prayer and authority of the Church. I can't tell if we got it right. Why can't they just give a straightforward answer? This response seems to want it both ways. It says the water is blessed, but only through the power of prayer and because the Church says so. Which is another way of saying it's symbolic, even though it all implies the answer is false and not merely a symbol. It's all very confusing. Okay, last question. Chalking a door with an epiphany blessing is like placing a horseshoe over your door. Both are simply symbols of protection. I've never heard of chalking your door, but whatever the chalking involves, that's gotta be superstitious, right? Wrong. Chalking your door means inscribing 23 plus C plus M plus B plus 23 in chalk over a doorway. It looks superstitious, but it's not. The letters represent the initials of the Magi, Casper, Melchior, and Balthazar, who came to visit Jesus. It is also an abbreviation of the Latin phrase Christus Manationem Benedicat. May Christ bless the house. The plus signs represent the cross, and the number at the beginning and the end mark the year. What the hell? If that's not superstitious, then nothing is superstitious. It's just a string of numbers and letters. As one online commenter explained, that's a video game cheat code. You can't say lucky shirts and throwing pennies in a wishing well are harmless fun, but then insist this weird lottery drawing is legit. By the way, the names of the Magi are not in the Bible. That's something people added later. So why would their initials be part of a sacred spell? Ultimately, they're just picking and choosing which forms of bullshit to accept. There's no logical consistency here, even for a religion that's not meant to be logical. Some traditions are considered silly, while others are very, very serious. There's no way of knowing which is which because it just depends on the last exorcist you talk to. If actual Catholics are trying to make sense of superstitions after this article, good luck to them when it comes to not angering their God.